We begin today about 11 or 12 lines up from the bottom of the Yamod on Daf Yud Gimel Amud Beis. We read a few lines here yesterday, but let's go back again to Gemara discussing the lashon that it says in the Mishnah on Daf Tes Amud Beis. The Mishnah there says, "Kshehizik chava mazik l'shalom tashlumi nezek b'meitav haaretz." If something of yours damages, so then you'll be obligated to pay. What is this line of the Mishnah coming to add? The same exact line that it says in this Mishnah, it says in the first Mishnah of the Masechta. So before the Gemara here brought that according to Shmuel, in the first Mishnah of the Masechta, when it mentions Shor, it only includes Shein v'regel, not the keren of the Shor. Over here, when it mentions again, Kishehizik chava mazik, it's coming to add the mazik of keren, when the Shor damages with its horns. But according to Rav, that's not the pshat, as the Gemara here brings. So therefore, there's another pshat exactly what this line in the Mishnah is coming to include. Let's see inside. So the Gemara. So according to Rav, that holds. We already learned in the first Mishnah of the Masechta that there's a shor that you chayiv when it's mazik, and that shor includes all different aspects of the shor, whether it damages with eating with its teeth, or with trampling with its feet, or goring with its horns. So chava mazik, when it says here again in the Mishnah that if something of yours damages, then you'll be obligated to pay. Lasuya mai. What more is this coming to add? Answers the Gemara. Lasuya hodet Tana Rabbanan is coming to add this that it says in the Braisa. The Tana Rabbanan kishehizik, that is chava mazik. The Braisa explains what does it mean when it says kishehizik chava mazik. Lahavi sheimechinam. This is coming to tell you that a person that's a sheimechinam, he's guarding something. He's guarding an ox, and he's not getting paid for this, or Vashoil, he borrowed, or Noisasacha, he rented, or Noisasacha rather, is a person that's getting paid for guarding it, or Vahaseicher, or someone that's renting. Sheizika behema b'rishusan. So this behema damaged in their possession. Now the Gemara will soon explain whose behema damaged who. See. So now, what's the halacha? So if this is an ox, and it gores with its horn, what's the halacha always with a keren? The first 3 times it's called a tam, and you only pay half. So tam mishalem chatzi nezek. And muad, after the 3rd time, it becomes a muad, na mishalem nezek shalem. So the same halacha of tam and muad will apply by a shomer, seicher, and shoyel, and so on. Now nifritza balaylo, if in the middle of the night the barn got breached, so this is something which is an oinus, you had no idea about this. I should pursue a listim, or robbers came and bursted it open. And now the fact that this behemoth goes out and damages is also beyond the control of the shomer or the shoyel. The yotza v'zika, the animal went out and was mazik, then potter. Then you're going to be potter. So when it says in the Mishnah, kishehizik chava mazik, it's coming to add the case of an animal that damages while it's in the possession of a shomer or of a shoyel. So here the Gemara right away explains whose animal damaged who. What's going on over here? Oh mamar. So the Tana the Braisa over here said, "Shehizik chava mazik lahavi shemichinam v'hashoyel noisasacha v'haseicher." And then when there's an animal in the possession of a shomer or a shoyel, and then you'll be chayiv. Hey chidami. What was this Braisa saying? Whose animal damaged who? The is the case over here that the lender's ox went and gored and damaged the ox of the borrower. So, and in this case, the Braisa is saying that you pay chatzi nezek. But the question on this is, let the shoyel say to the mashel, the borrower, say to the lender, ilu azik ba'alma boyis l'shlumiat. If, again, rather, let me repeat that. Let the lender, that is, say to the borrower, why should I pay for the fact that my ox gored your ox and damaged him, and damaged it? If in any case you are now the shomer or you are now the borrower that has my ox in your possession, so you have to guard it and take care of it. Any damage that it causes, who's going to be obligated to pay for this? The shoyel, right? The shoyel has to pay for this. So hashtud aski letura didach. Now, if my ox that you borrowed and you have full responsibility over it, if it damages your ox, being a l'shlumi, I should pay. The mashal, the lender, should pay for the damage that his ox causes when it damages the borrower's ox. Why? This is now in your possession. You have full responsibility to take care of it and see to it that it stays safe and sound, and also that it doesn't damage anyone else. So I shouldn't be responsible for any damage that it causes. Elo, rather, what's the case of here? The aske tura the shoyel, the tura the mashal. That the ox of the borrower damaged the ox of the lender. So what did the Braisa say? Then in such a case, the borrower is going to have to pay. But what does he pay? he pays chatzi nezek. For the first 3 times when this happens, he only pays half, and then afterwards he pays nezek shalom if it happens after 3 times. But the question is, why in the beginning does he only pay chatzi nezek? Lei melei, why doesn't the lender tell the borrower, ilu itzik me alma bayis l'shlume kulitura? You borrowed an ox from me. Whatever happens to it, you have to give me back that ox fully. That's the responsibility of a shayel. A shayel is responsible even for any einus that happens. Whatever happens, he has to pay fully. So over here, what happened? His ox, the shayel's ox, gored the ox of the lender, and it damaged it. So the lender should say to him, you're fully responsible, just like in any other case. Whatever einus would happen to this ox of mine, you would have to pay fully. So now that it's your own ox that went and damaged my ox that I gave you, that I lent you, should we apply over here the usual rule that a tam only pays half? Yeah, usually there's the halacha that a tam only pays half, but not if you're a borrower. If you're a shayel, you have a full responsibility to replace the ox that I gave you that now was killed by your ox. So it's not clear what this Braise is talking about when it mentions over here regarding a borrower and a lender, that if the behemoth damages, you would be chayiv first half for the first 3 times, tam, and then later nezek shalom. And says the Gemara, the case must be over here, like we started off saying, the aske tura the mashal, the tura the shayel, that the ox of the mashal damaged the ox of the shayel. So if so, the question is, why should the mashal, the lender, be responsible for this damage? It's in the possession of the shayel. The shayel has the full responsibility to safeguard it and to also make sure that it doesn't damage. So why would the mashal have to pay? But the case over here is shekibel olav shmiras gufay. When the borrower took it into his possession, he accepted upon himself to guard it, that it should stay safe and sound, that it shouldn't get damaged from anybody else. But he told clearly to the lender, I'm not taking upon myself a responsibility that it should not be wild and damage someone else. So therefore now that the mashal, the lender's share, damaged the shayel's share, who's going to be responsible? The mashal, because that responsibility the shayel never took upon himself. That's the case over here. Says the Gemara, but if this is the case, same as Sefer. What does it say in the next part of the Braise? That in a case when you have this ox in the possession of this borrower, and then nifritza balayla, the barn got breached in the middle of the night, the shepatzua listim, or robbers came and breached it open, and the yotza vizika, and the animal went out and was mazik potter. So the borrower is potter. Why is the borrower potter? Because this is something which is beyond his control. It's a kind of einus that he can't even expect at all. So therefore he's not going to be chayiv for this. So now what do we understand from this? Why is he potter? Because it's such a kind of einus. But bayoim, if this happens in the middle of the day, which is something that is preventable, then chayiv, then the shayel would be responsible for the damages that this ox that he borrowed causes. But the question is, didn't we just say hole kibbul of shmiras nezakav? The shayel did not accept upon himself to safeguard it, that the animal, won't go ahead and damage someone else. He only accepted to safeguard it, that it shouldn't become damaged, but not that it will damage someone else. Why do we see here from this Braise that you would be chayiv for this? And says the Gemara, you're right, you're going to have to split the case of the Braise here. This is how you have to read the Braise. The first part of the Braise is talking about a case where a person takes someone's ox, he borrows it, and he does not take responsibility for any damages that it causes. But then, in the second half of the Braise, this is what it's saying. Im kibul olav shmiras nezakav, if the borrower did accept upon himself to guard it, not only that it should be safe and sound, but that it shouldn't damage anyone else, then chayiv, he would be chayiv to pay for whatever damages it causes. However, if it happened in the middle of the night, the shepatzua listim, or robbers came and broke open the barn, v'yotza vizika potter, and it went out and damaged, then it's going to be potter because it's beyond his control. But otherwise, he will be chayiv because he accepted upon himself to guard it. That it shouldn't damage anyone else. Okay, this is explaining the lashon of the Mishnah that it said kishehizik chav hamazik. Now the Gemara goes back to where this discussion began. The Gemara here really was focusing on the lashon that it said in the Mishnah on Daf Tes before this. It says in the Mishnah reshus hanizik v'hamazik. If you have a place, a property that is partnership, it belongs to the nizik and the mazik together, and over there your animal went and ate part of the crop, or went inside there and trampled over the crop. Are you going to be chayiv a potter? So the Gemara before brought that this is a machlokes, Rav Chiste and Rabbi Lazar. According to Rav Chiste, when you have a place which belongs to both of them together, so then for shein v'regel, you're going to be chayiv. To explain what this means, one of the things about Shein V'Regel is that if it happens in the Rishus Harabim, you potter. Why? Because it says in the Torah, Ubir Bizdei Acher. If your animal eats or tramples, you only chayiv if it goes into someone else's private property. But if it happens in the Rishus Harabim, you potter. Now the question is, what's if it's a partnership? If it's a property that has partnership? So Rav Chisda says, you're going to be chayiv because it belongs to this other person as well. So therefore it's bizdei achi, you went into his property and your animal damages, so you're chayiv. Rabbi Elazar though disagrees. Rabbi Elazar says just like an animal that eats and damages in that way, in the Rishus Harabim you potter, when it's in a place in a property that this partnership, you're also going to be potter. And that's what the Mishnah meant when it said Rishus HaNizik V'Mazik, that you're going to be potter. So the Gemara now comes back to this and asks on this from a Braisa. Says the Gemara, Heini, the halacha that Rabbi Elazar said, is this true? But Vatani, Rav Yosef taught in the Braisa as follows: Chatzer HaShutfim, you have a courtyard that belongs to partners, or Va'apundik, or an inn, which is a big inn that everybody comes there, all kinds of guests, and bring their things over there. Everybody has the right together to be there. So in such a place, if your animal comes into such a domain and it damages, it eats or tramples, chayiv ben ala shein v'regel. You are chayiv for the damage of shein v'regel. To Yufta de Rabbi Elazar, this refutes Rabbi Elazar's opinion that says that in a place of partnership, you're going to be potter. It's just like a Rishus Harabim. It's like considered to be like a public place. And says the Gemara, Amalach Rabbi Elazar. Rabbi Elazar could answer you, V'tizbere, is this a svara that you can refute my opinion from this Braisa? Masnita miloi pligi. Isn't there a different Braisa that argues on this Braisa that we just brought? And here he brings another Braisa that says the exact opposite. And here this Braisa brings different rules regarding the ownership of the domain where the animal was masik. So Vatanya, we learned in a Braisa that says the following rule. Arba klalois hoya Rab Shimon ben Elazar. Rab Shimon ben Elazar said 4 different categories in the ownership of the domain where your animal was mazik, ben izakin, regarding izakin. Kol shur rishus l'nizik v'loy l'mazik chayiv b'koil. If your animal damages in someone else's private property, the nizik's private property, so then you chayiv to pay for you chayiv everything. Doesn't matter what kind of damage it was, you went into his private domain, you're going to be chayiv. The mazik v'loy l'nizik, if the place where the damage happened is the mazik's private domain, and the nizik's animal strayed into your property without permission, then patamikol, you're going to be pater from everything. So that you allowed your animal to come into my private property, so whatever damage happens is your responsibility. I don't have to pay for it. Now, if it's lezeh v'lezeh, if you have a property that belongs to both the mazik and the nizik together, kagoyin chatzer hashutfim, a courtyard that belongs to partners, or va'abika, a big valley where people own it together, and in that area your animal went and was mazik. So over here, it depends what the damage was. Pater ba ala shein v'ala regel. If the damage your animal did was that it ate or it trampled, so that shein and regel is going to be potter. So here it clearly says, like a Rabbi Elazar's opinion, that if it's a place of partnership, so then for shein and regel you're going to be potter. But alanagiche, however, if the animal gores in this place of partnership, or valanagife, it pushes with his body, valanashiche, it bites in a wild way, not eating. Valarevitze, it lies down, valabite, it kicks. All these things are toildis of keren. Then tam mishalem chatzi nezek, mud mishalem nezek shalom. This is the halacha of keren, that the first 3 times you pay half and then you pay nezek shalom. Now the 4th category here is loylezeh v'loylezeh. If you have a property that belongs to nobody, right, which would simply mean that it belongs only to one person, it only belongs to the nizik, it's a property that doesn't belong to both of them, then chayiv boy ala shein v'ala regel, then you'll be chayiv to pay there for the damage that the animal causes through eating or trampling, shein and regel, and the same, and ala nagicha, like we said before, regarding keren, goring with the horns, or valanashicha, valanagifa, valarabitza, valabita, same as we mentioned before, these are all the tellers of keren, so tam mishalem chatzi nezek, and muad mishalem nezek shalem. So we added the 4 different categories in this brisa. So now the Gemara points out, Katani Mias, what is one of the cases mentioned here? Chatzer HaShutfim, a property, a courtyard that belongs to partners, or Va'abika, a valley that's owned also in partnership, Pater ba ala shein v'ala regel, that you pater when the animal damages there with shein and regel. So this is the opposite of the previous brisa. In the previous brisa it said that if it's a place of shutfin, or if it's an inn where people come there all together, guests, Over there, it said that you would be chayev for shein v'regel. We compare it to Reshus Harabim. Here, it's saying that if it's a private property, but it's with an ownership of a partnership, then you would be potter. So this Braisa here says, like Rabbi Elazar's opinion, that you would be potter. But the Gemara now tries to answer the contradiction of these two Braisas. Says the Gemara, Kashya Dodi. So these two Braisas are contradicting each other. Shein v'regel, in a place of partnership, are you chayev or are you potter? So the Gemara answers, no, we don't have to say that there's two opinions here, that it's a machlokes, that it's a contradiction. We could answer that it depends on the nature of the partnership. Ki Tanya hi, when it says in the Braise that you would be potter, I believe this is, let's see, Ki Tanya hi b'chotzim yechedes lezeh ulezeh, when you have a property that is designated, the partnership is two people that can bring their bein lepetis. Their partnership is they grow produce there together and bein l'shvarim, and also to bring their oxen over there together. So if the partnership is for both, for the peitis and for shvarim, so in such a case, the halacha would be you would be chayev actually for the damage that the shvarim do over here, because the partnership includes also the fact that this is a public place for both of these partners to bring their oxen to this place. So if you, potter, sorry, okay, yeah, you're right, yeah, okay, just realize that, okay. Like I said in the beginning, so in such a case you'd be potter. Why are you potter? Fakat, because you're allowed to bring your ox there. It's a place of partnership. It's not, the Torah says, ubir bizdei acher. You allowed your ox to go into someone else's property. But if this is a property that you're allowed to bring your ox in there, so then you would be potter. That's the brisa that says that you'd be potter. Second brisa we brought. And Ahid Rav Yosef, the first brisa that we brought, that says that if it's in a place of partnership, you would be chayev b'chotzim yechedes lepetis ve'enim yechedes l'shvarim. If it's a property, yeah, it's a partnership. But what's a partnership? Only that they grow produce there together. But ve'enim yechedes l'shvarim, they're not allowed to bring their oxen in there together. It's a place where you keep peitis. The legabe shein. So therefore, when the animal comes in there and it eats, so this is the nizik could say, who asked you to bring your shayr in here? It's not a place to bring a shayr into this place, and therefore you're bringing it into my property. You'll be chayav for this. So therefore it depends what the partnership is. Now it says the Gemara Dekanami, I'll prove to you this pshat here, Diktani hacha dumya de pundik, because when it comes to the first brayso, when it talks about the partnership, it says, what's the example of partnership? It gives one example like a pundik, an inn. In an inn, over there, what are people coming into the inn for? To bring to be there, to bring their merchandise in there, and not to bring their animals inside there, to allow animals to come inside and to damage people's possessions. So here, we're talking specifically about a partnership where animals don't belong there. Over there, if the animal comes in and damages, shein v'regel, you'll be chayiv. And then a Katani Hassam in the second Braisa, where it talks about a partnership, what does it say? Dumya de Bika. It talks about a partnership in a courtyard, and then it also mentions a valley. What's a valley? A valley is an open place. Animals walk around in a valley. That's a place where there's a partnership that animals are allowed to be there. So Shema Mino, that clearly says that the two Braisas are talking about a domain of partnership, but in a different way. It's not the same kind of partnership. One is in a place where animals don't belong there, and the Bika is a place where animals do belong there, so therefore you'll be potter. So the Gemara asks on this, now Rab Zeira asks on this misvara. What's the source of this whole thing? It says, like I mentioned before, the pasuk. The pasuk says, for shein v'regel, you only chayiv if it's bizdei acher. You went into someone else's domain. So Maskef Lo Rab Zeira asks, since for produce, for the fruits, or for vegetables, whatever it is, both of these partners have the right to bring their fruits there, so then why should you be chayiv, even if it's not a place for your ox to come in there? But your ox came in and damaged, why should you be chayiv? The Torah says that you're chayiv only if the animal went and ate in someone else's property. You can't really say that it's someone else's property, because I and him, the nizik and the mazik, are allowed to bring their fruits in there. So it's not zdei acher as far as the fact that you're allowed to bring both your fruits in there. But Abaye says no. Since this is not a place where their partnership allows them to both bring their oxen in here, so for the ox to come in here, you're allowing your ox to come into a place that he doesn't belong there. That's called stay acher. It's a different domain that it doesn't belong there. So you will be chai for this. So now, based on all of this, we just said that we have these two braises. They're not a contradiction. It depends what the partnership is. So Rav Achim Bedifta said, if so, lema, we should say, pligi, just like we explained here that these two braises are not a contradiction. There's no argument here. Amirai nami pligi. The two Amiraim that this whole sugi began with, which is Rav Chisda and Rabbi Lazar, that argued about this, whether in a place of partnership, if the shayr goes and eats or tramples there, shein v'regel, if you chayav a pater, so maybe they're not arguing either. We could say it depends what the partnership is. Is the partnership to allow oxen to come in or not? Amalei, so Ravina answered, perhaps you're right, that they're not arguing. And then he says, if you're going to say they are arguing, what is the explanation of their argument? They're arguing. On one hand, you have the svara of the question of Rab Zera. Rab Zera says, as long as it's a place that there's some level of partnership here, that both could bring their fruits into this place. Even if you're not allowed to bring an ox in here, but the very fact that they could both bring their fruits here, there's a partnership. You can't call it zdei acher. My ox did not go into another person's domain. I'm allowed to bring my fruits here as well. And Abaya answers no. But if you can't bring your ox in here, so for your ox, it is considered to be zdei acher because your ox doesn't belong here. That is the basis of the argument of Rav Chisda and Rav Elazar about this. Now the Gemara goes back to the brayso that we quoted before, that Rav Shimon said 4 different categories in the domains of where the damage happened. Says the Gemara Gufa, what did it say here in the Brayso? Arba Klalis Hay Rav Shimon ben Elazar. Shimon ben Elazar divided the domains into 4 different categories. Ben Zaken, regarding the Zaken. So the first one was Kol Shuhu Rishus Lenizik V'Lei Lamazik. If this is a property that belongs only to the nizik and not to the mazik, it's a private place, and then your animal went there and damaged, then chayiv bakoil. You're going to be, no matter how it damaged, you're going to be chayiv to pay. So the Gemara now is medayik here. This word bakoil. Bakoil means you have to pay it all. You have to pay up all the damage. Says the Gemara, al hakoil loikatani. Doesn't say in the Mishnah you chayiv al hakoil. Al hakoil would mean you would be chayiv to pay for any kind of category of damage, whether it's shein v'regel, whether it's keren, in whatever way you damage, you'd be chayiv to pay for every category of damage of the ovis nazikin. That's what al hakoil would mean. That doesn't say that. Rather, what does it say? Al chayiv bakoil. B'kula nezek. Bakoil means you have to reimburse him. You have to pay up the damage entirely. Right, so what is the chiddush over here? Full. In full you have to pay. Right. Keren, so the first 3 times you usually pay half. So if we would say ala koil, what that would mean is you have to pay for the keren, but according to the rules of keren, which is not paid in full, you pay half for the damage of keren. But when it says bakkoil means not only do you have to pay here for keren when your animal went into someone else's private property and damaged, but you have to actually pay in full. What does this mean? So why is this different? Usually keren only pays half. Why over here do you have to pay in full? Says the Gemara Mani, who according to his opinion is this Rab Tarfani. This is Rab Tarfan's opinion. We had it mentioned before already. The Omer Rab Tarfan said, Mishune keren b'chotzer hanizik, that when it comes to keren, it goes with its horns, even though usually it only pays half the first 3 times. But if it happens in someone else's private property, this is different, and you pay nazik shalom mishalom. You pay in full, and that's what the Brayso here is saying. Bakol, you have to pay in full. That is the first case of the Brayso. Now, Amos Seife, what was the very last case of this Brayso? It said, Loilazeh v'loilazeh, if your animal damages in a property that doesn't belong not to the mazik and not to the nizik, there's no partnership here, a property that doesn't belong to both of them, then chayiv ba ala shein v'ala regel, you'll be chayiv to pay for shein and regel. And then it says that for keren you'll also be chayiv, but you'll only be chayiv to pay for keren half, like keren is usually chayiv. So the Gemara now wants to understand, what is this property? A property that doesn't belong to both of them. My loilazeh v'loilazeh. What does this mean, a property that doesn't belong to both of them? Ilay loilazeh v'loilazeh klal, that this is a property that doesn't belong not to the mazik and not to the nizik, ela da'acher. It belongs to a third person. So if so, how could this Brayso say that you would be chayiv if your animal goes and damages there with shein v'regel? V'hobeina obier bizdei acher v'leke. The only time you chayiv is if your animal goes and damages bizdei acher in the domain of the nizik. He went into his property, then you would be chayiv. Over here though, if this is a place that does not belong to the nizik, so then it's not bizdei acher. You wouldn't be chayiv. Elo pshite. So what is the pshat of the very last case of the Brayso here? Loilazeh v'loilazeh, when it says that this is a property that doesn't belong to both the mazik or the nizik, what it means to say is elo dechad. It doesn't belong to both of them, but it belongs to one of them. Who does it belong to? It belongs to the nizik. Basically, the same case as the reisha. Because Vakatani Seifa, and what does it say here in the Seifa of the Braisa? That if the tam, if the animal was mazik with its horns, so tam mishalim chatzi nezek and muad mishalim nezek shalim, that you only pay chatzi nezek for the first 3 times. So now, according to whose opinion is this? That even if your animal damaged with its horns in someone's private property, that you still only pay chatzi nezek asan l'rabbanan. This follows the Rabbanan's opinion. The Rabbanan said, Mishuna Karen b'chatzara nizik, that Karen is different than all other kinds of modes, all kinds of payment, that is. You have to pay for the nizikin, even if it's in someone's private domain, chatzi nezik u'demishalim, you only pay half and you don't pay full payment. Right, so frak the Gemara, Reishe Rab Tarfin. The first case of the Mishnah, when it says Bakkoil, you have to pay in full when it's in someone's private property, that's Rab Tarfin. And the Sefer Rabbana, the last case of the Brais, which seems to be talking about the exact same case, over here, it's going according to the Rabbana, that say that if it's in someone's private property, you still only pay Chatzi Nezek. Says the Gemara, in fact, that is the case. The Reish is Rav Tarfon and the Sefer is the Rabbanan. And here the Gemara brings an example for this, what we have in other places, the Ha'omar Le Shmuel Rav Yehuda. Shmuel said to Rav Yehuda, that was also discussing a Mishnah, where the Mishnah seemed to be half according to one opinion and the other part of the Mishnah according to another opinion. So Shmuel says to Rav Yehuda, Shinina, sharp one. Shvoik masnisin, leave alone the Mishnah. In other words, stop trying to make the entire Mishnah fit according to one opinion. The Tav Basrai, follow me. So, and I'll tell you that the Mishnah is not all one opinion. Reisha, Rab Tarfin. The first case of the Mishnah is Rab Tarfin's opinion, and the Sefer Rabbanan. And the last case is the Rabbanan. So here as well, the 2 parts of the Braisa are not the same opinion. That's one answer. But Ravina and Mishmei de Rava, Ravina answers in the name of Rava, Kula Rab Tarfini. I can tell you that this entire Braisa goes according to Rab Tarfin. What's Rab Tarfin's opinion? That if a shayr is mazik with keren in a private domain, the Rishus HaNizik, you pay nezek shalim the first time. Now, what is the last case of the Braisa? When the Braisa says that there's a domain that belongs to nobody, what does it mean it belongs to nobody? What kind of domain is this? It means it's a place that doesn't belong to both of them as far as the paytis is concerned. No one is supposed to bring, they don't both have the right to bring their paytis there. Only the nizik has the right to bring his paytis. It's not a partnership for fruits. Elo Dachat, one of them, only the nizik could bring his paytis there. So that's why the Braisa says that for shein v'regel you'll be chayiv. If your animal comes in there and eats his paytis, it's his private domain for his paytis, so you're chayiv for that. That's what the pasuk says. Ubir b'zdei acher. You went into a private domain for his paytis. But lezeh ulezeh l'shvarim. However, it is a place where oxen go around, and it is a place for both of them. It's allowed. It's a partnership that they can both bring their oxen into there. The legabe shein havila chatzar nizik. As far as the hezek of shein is concerned, so this is considered to be a private place that belongs to the nizik, and therefore you're going to be chayiv for that. But legabe keren, as far as the damage of when the animal damages with its horn is concerned, havila reshus harabim. For that, it's considered to be a reshus harabim because it's a place that anybody is allowed to bring their oxen to this place, and therefore, according to Rab Tarfin, you would only pay chatzi nezek. So therefore it's not a contradiction to the Reisha. This entire Braisa could all be Rab Tarfin. But the Gemara asks, if that's the pshat of here in this Braisa, if so, Arba, why are you saying that there are 4 different kinds of properties that divide different halachas for what you pay? It's not 4. Shloisha, it's really only 3. What's happening over there? There's really only 3 kinds of domains. There's a public domain, there's a private domain that belongs to the nizik, and then there's a place of partnership that belongs to both of them. That's what it is. And over here, this 4th case, all we're saying is that for peiris, it's private, and for shvarim, for oxen being there, it's public. But so it's either public or private. But there is no really 4th category here at all. So why are we counting it as a 4th kind of domain? So Rav Nachman Yitzchak answers, you're right, it's not really a completely different kind of a category. Shloisha klolus, there are really only 3 different kinds of categories of domains when it comes to the halachas of paying. And again, Rashi over here brings and clarifies what that is. If you go into the nizik's private property, you're going to be chayiv to pay in full for everything. If this is in the rishus of the mazik, so it's the mazik's private domain. Why did you come into my private property? So if anything of yours gets damaged here, so then the mazik will be totally potter. Right? And then there's the Chatzar of Shuktven. So over there, the halacha is that you chayiv chatzin nezek for keren, and you'll be potter for shem v'regel. So those are the three different kinds of halachas. But ba'arba mekaymis, it could be divided into four different ways how this could play out, as the Brisa says, including the fourth place where it could be a place where for peiris it's considered to be private, because for peiris it only belongs to the nizik. He's the only one that could store his fruits there, or grow his fruits there. And for shvarim, for having oxen being there, it's considered to be public. It's shared because anybody can bring their oxen there. Okay. So this Mishnah speaks very, very bekitzer, very short words. Mishnah says a few halachas here. The first halacha is shum kesef. The appraisal is a monetary appraisal. So we're talking over here about appraising a damage. So this has to be a monetary appraisal. What exactly the Mishnah means by this, the Gemara will explain right away. Shava kesef. You can pay your damages not only with kesef, but with shava kesef, something that has the value of money. We'll be explaining the Gemara what that refers to. B'fnei bezdin, you pay in front of a bezdin. Val pi edim, you pay according to the testimony of witnesses. B'nei chayrim, these edim have to be b'nei chayrim, meaning they have to be yidden. And if it's an eved, he has to be freed, then he's a full yid. That's the edus that we accept. And b'nei bris has to be a yid, the edus, not a edus of a guy. V'hanashim. And also, when it comes to women, b'chlal hanezek. Women are included in the halacha of damages. If someone damages them or they damage someone, all the halachas of nezikin apply to women as well. And v'hanizik, v'hamazik b'tashlumin. And there's a payment where not only the mazik pays, but the nizik is also part of this payment. The Gemara will explain what that means. What kind of a payment is the nizik part of this payment? Okay, so the Gemara starts with the first thing of the Mishnah. What did the Mishnah say? Shum kesef. That has to be a monetary appraisal. What does this mean? My shum kesef. From Rav Yehuda says, shum zeh. When you appraise a damage, lo yehei elo bekesef. It should be a proper monetary appraisal according to the value of the damage that actually happened. So Tanina la the Tanina Rabbanon, what it says in our Mishnah proves what it says in the Braisa. Para sheizika talis. If you have a cow that was mazik someone's garment, it trampled over someone's garment and it destroyed the garment. Or, so now, when this para damaged this garment, so this is in only, Rashi clarifies, this is what takes place in the private domain of the nizik, because this is the hezek of regel. Right? Regel, you only chayav for if it happens in the rishus of the nizik. And then v'talis she'zika para. And on the other hand, what happened is this talis ended up damaging the potter, because what happened? The potter was walking and it got entangled in this garment that was lying on the floor. Someone left a talis on the floor, and here, this is in the middle of the Rishus HaRabim. He left a talis on the ground in the middle of the Rishus HaRabim. This is the mazik of Bayer. Just like you can dig a pit in the middle of the Rishus HaRabim. Similar, he left a garment in the middle of the Rishus HaRabim, and then a potter walked in it and got entangled in it and got damaged from it. It fell, it got damaged. So in such a case, ein oimrim, you don't say teitze para betalis v'talis bepara. You don't say that because your para damaged the talis, so you should give to the bala talis your para to pay up for the damages. And the same thing in the reverse. The bala para should get the talis of the bala para. They should switch with each other, and each one should pay from the item that he owns. Right. So over here, and it's not 100% clear in Rashi what the case is, but from at least one gerse in Rashi, it's mashma. What this is talking about is that these two people, their possessions damaged each other. The case of here is that the para damaged the talis and the talis damaged the para. It's not two separate cases. It's one case. They damage each other. So when two people have possessions that damage each other, you may say that what do? That the para goes to the bala talis and the talis goes to the bala para. We don't have to evaluate the actual damage to see the difference in the level of the damage. So we don't say that. Elo shaman oisa b'damim. You have to estimate the actual value of the damage to see the difference. Who caused more of a damage, and therefore who to pay the difference between them. You don't just switch and say that you pay him and he pays you. You get his para, he gets your talis. It doesn't work that way. Okay, that's a simple pshat of the Gemara according to Rashi. There are other Rishonim that have different pshatim. That's the simple translation of shum kesef. It has to be a fair monetary appraisal according to the actual damage. The next halacha of the Mishnah is shava kesef. Mishnah says that you can pay not only with kesef but with shava kesef as well. What does this mean? The Tana Rabbanan V'dot Nabraisa shava kesef. When it says you pay with Shava Kesef Malama, what this means is she'ein bezdin iskakin elo nechasim sheyesh lem achrayis. When you collect, when bezdin comes to collect payment for damage, where do they collect from? Only from lands, from a property which is called chasm sheyesh lem achrayis. It stays put. You have responsibility over it, so that's what you get paid from. Avlum kadam nizik v'tafas metaltelen. You don't pay with movable items, but if the nizik went and grabbed on his own from the mazik something, a movable, a valuable movable item to get paid, then Bezdin goyvel man. Bezdin allows him to collect and allows him to keep it. So here, when it says in the Mishnah Shava Kesef, what it's saying is that you pay not only with cash, but you also pay with something that's valuable like cash. And what is that? Only karkois, a piece of land. So now the Gemara explains, "Oh, mamar shava kesef malamet shein business kaken lalam l'chasm shesh lem achrayis." The Brisa just said that what does shava kesef mean? That you can pay up with a piece of land. My mashma. Where do you see it in the words of shava kesef? Doesn't shava kesef sound like anything that has the value of money? Not only a piece of land, even any movable item as well. So Rabbi says in the name of Hula as follows: Davar hashave kol kesef. We're talking about something that has the value of any money. And what is that? My meal. What is something that its value can go up, double, triple, and can have a value of any money? This is only a piece of property, a piece of land. Because the halacha by a piece of land is, if you sell it, you bought it for one price and then you sell it double, triple, 4 times the price. So the buyer can't come and say that you gypped me off or you tricked me. I know. Because why? The price of property changes and fluctuates, can go up and down very radically, and there's no din of no when it comes to properties. So that's why shava kesef means it's shava any value of money. An object, any movable object, even if its price changes, but not so radically like a piece of property. That's what the word shava kesef means. But the Gemara asks on this, we know that the halacha is avodim. If you're selling a slave, or shtaris, or documents that having it loan that someone owes. If you're selling these 2 items, nami elem I know. The halacha is regarding avodim and shtaris. There's also no din of ino. No matter what price you sell it, the sale is in effect. So it doesn't refer only to karka, if this is the way you define it. Elom Rabbi Barulis, or Rabbi Barulis says a different shot. Dover hanikne bikesef. When it says shava kesef, it means something that's acquired with money. Any movable item is not acquired with money. How do you acquire a movable item? Mishicha, you have to bring it into your property, or hagbah, you lift it up. Not kesef. Avodim ishtaris, but the Gemara asks again, when it comes to avodim, when it comes to slaves, or shtaris, nami nikne bekesef. You could also acquire them with money. So Rashi and Taisus both here point out, avodim actually could be acquired with money. We learned this in Masechta Kiddushin. But shtaris, Rashi says he doesn't know where it says such a thing, that you could acquire a shtar of a loan with money. So the question of the Gemara is really just from avodim. So that this can't be the pshat in the Mishnah when it says shove kesef, that it could be acquired with money, because that wouldn't be only karka. And the Brisa says only karka. Elom Ravashi, so therefore Ravashi says, what does shove kesef mean? Shove kesef v'loy kesef. Shove kesef means something that has the value of money, and it's in no way similar to money itself. Mahani kulu, all other movable items, kesef ninu. They're very similar to kesef itself. In what way? Just like money itself, you put in your pocket and you could take it, transport it from one location to another. A movable item is also something that can be transported from one place to another, similar to money. Shala kesef means something that has the value of money, but it's not similar to money because it stays put in one place. That's what the Brisa is saying. That's what you pay your loan with. The damage with. Now this the Gemara asks, we already learned earlier in the Masechta, you don't have to pay up damages only with a property that you own. So we learned here in the Brisa, you only pay up a damage with a piece of property that you have, which stays put in its place. But how could you say this? Tanya, we learned already before in the Brisa, Yoshib, when it says by the damages of bar that you have to return the damages. What does this mean? That you can pay up with any valuable thing, any movable item as well. Subin. You can even pay with subin, which is a brand, any cheap item, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be only karka. Why is it saying here that you pay only with a piece of land? Answers the Gemara, what is this Mishnah and Brisa here talking about? B'yasmi. When you want to collect damages from the orphans, that's different. Because Yasmi, we mentioned already a few times before, Yisayimim do not have a responsibility to pay up anything that the father owes. The only thing is, if they inherited a piece of land, then the shibud, the money that's owed, is on the piece of land. But otherwise, on cash, if they only inherited cash or movable items, they don't have to pay. That's what it says here, only karka. Fragt the Gemara, but Ibe asked me if this is Yisaimim, Aim Sefer. What did it say in the end of the Braisa? Im Kadam Nizik v'tofas metaltalin. That if the Nizik went and grabbed the metaltalin on his own, Bezdin Goyvel Bezdin allows him to collect from these metaltalin. But Ibe asked me, if we're talking about the orphans, am I Bezdin Goyvel? Why does Bezdin allow him to keep the metaltalin from the Yisaimim? He's not allowed to collect from this. The metaltalin belongs to the Yisaimim, and they have no obligation to pay from these metaltalin. How could you go ahead and grab it and then keep it? Answers the Gemara, Rav Nachman. The answer to that over here is similar to what Rav said in the name of Rav Nachman regarding another Mishnah, Shetofas Mechayim, that the person that came and grabbed already grabbed it in the father's lifetime. Hachanami over here as well. What happened is this Nizik came and grabbed Shetofas Mechayim. He grabbed it already in the father's lifetime, and then he was allowed to grab it. So even though now the father passed away, and now the Yisaimim can argue we have no responsibility to allow this person to keep what he grabbed because we have no responsibility to pay. But once he grabbed it in the father's lifetime, you don't have to return it. Let's see one more piece. The Gemara says B'fnei Bezdin. In the Mishnah it said that you collect a damage in front of Bezdin. What does this mean? Prat l'moicher nechasav. This excludes a person that damaged and then he sold his properties to someone. So now the buyer has his properties. And then afterwards you go to Bezdin. So if you damage someone and you have properties in your possession that the nizik could collect from, if you sold off your properties before he brings you to the Bezdin to collect them, he can't collect anymore once it's in the buyer's possession. But the Gemara asks on this can't be. Shmami no, could we learn from here that this is always true, that anytime you own money, loive, lava that is, if you borrowed money, and then you sell properties that you owned at that time, and then the lender brings you to Bezdin, ain't Bezdin goyven loy mehen? Bezdin will not collect from those properties. We always know that if you own properties, you always go to the buyer to collect those properties. Answers the Gemara, so the prat here is different. Elo, what the Mishnah meant to say is, prat lebezdin hedyotis. When you come to collect damages, you can't just go in front of any three plain individuals to create a bezdin. Like for a tadas nadarim or any other kind of thing that you can use any plain three people for a bezdin. You have to have a proper bezdin of experts in order to estimate and collect these damages. That's what the Mishnah meant when it said, b'fnei bezdin.